Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show, huh? I'm not dead? At the edge of a lush forest, Ji Yunchuang, who was in a coma, woke up and looked around blankly. She remembered that she seemed to be involved in the turbulent flow of space, and was stunned by the turbulence. It stands to reason that at her level, she should have already died long ago. How could she appear in such a place? With strong doubts, she resisted the severe pain from all over her body and struggled to hold herself up. However, he suddenly discovered that there was still a person lying beside him. Lin Yu. Ji Yunchuang's eyes trembled as he looked at the figure beside him. Except for the cheeks that are still intact, the whole body has been cut open, and the blood is not stopping. Could it be that Lin Yu rescued her? Not daring to think about it, he immediately frowned and endured the pain and came to Lin Yu's side, took out a few healing medicines from his personal space and fed it to him, and then fed him a little water before he cried out anxiously. Lin Yu, wake up, wake up, wake up. But no matter how she shouted, Lin Yu showed no sign of waking up. No way. Ji Yunchuang had to try to contact the territory and wanted to summon angel troops to treat him. Too far from the main city, unable to contact the territory. Distance is too far. Hearing the prompt in his mind, Ji Yunchuang was stunned. Then he thought of something, and suddenly raised his head to look at the sky. When she saw the crack in the sky that spanned the entire continent, her pupils suddenly shrank. They actually was teleported to other continents. Knowing this fact, Ji Yunchuang suddenly staggered back a few steps, couldn't help panicking in his heart, and was a little overwhelmed. Being in another continent and having no way to communicate with the territory to summon troops is tantamount to a death sentence for a lord. What's more, she was still injured, and next to her was a seriously injured and unconscious Lin Yu. What to do? Are they really going to die here? Ji Yunchuang bit her lip and looked around at a loss. This was the first time for her to encounter such a situation of isolation and helplessness, and she was inevitably a little flustered, even a little panic. No, I must calm down. Ji Yunchuang clenched her hands tightly, took a deep breath, and forced herself to calm down. After a while, she finally calmed down a little, and her eyes gradually became firmer. Then he got up resolutely, went to the forest next to him to find rattan woven into a rattan chair, carried Lin Yu behind his back, and took him away from the place with difficulty. The place they are now in is too open and belongs to other realms. The more you wait, the more dangerous it is. Must find a hiding place as soon as possible. Otherwise, with her current situation, let alone high-rank lords, just encountering a 6th-rank lord with a 7th-rank troop would kill them. Lin Yu, hold on, I'll take you to a safe place first. Ji Yunchuang clenched her teeth and moved Lin Yu with difficulty. Before taking a few steps, I was already sweating profusely and my whole body was in severe pain. But even so, she still tried her best to support her, taking heavy steps, staggering into the forest beside her. This forest is the most suitable place for her to hide, and the only place she can go. No matter how far it is, I am afraid that even she herself will not be able to support it. In this way, walking slowly step by step, she finally successfully entered the forest, searching for a cave or tree hole to hide in. But what Ji Yunchuang never expected was. Not long after she walked into the forest, 2 lords with troops suddenly approached, both of them froze in place. The 2 lords were all 6th Order lords, with several 7th Order and a large number of 6th Order beast troops around them, and they also carried many monster corpses. Apparently just came back from a hunt deep in the forest. After encountering Ji Yunchuang, he paused for a while, then immediately became vigilant. You are, from another realm. How dare you break into our Yuansha realm, how courageous! At a glance, the 2 lords recognized Ji Yunchuang and the aura of Lin Yu on her back. In front of the enemy, there is no distinction between men and women. Especially when they felt the 7th Order aura on Ji Yunchuang's body, the expressions of the 2 suddenly changed. Go. Kill them. Get rid of them. With the two orders, the beast troops beside them roared and rushed towards Ji Yunshuang. Ji Yunshuang's face darkened slightly, and she gritted her teeth. She did not expect that she would meet the lord of this world so quickly. Seeing the opponent's troops approaching rapidly, without hesitation, he turned around and fled with Lin Yu behind his back, fleeing to the other side of the forest. But she is seriously injured, how can she outrun those Seventh Order troops? In less than a short while, she was blocked by several beasts, and the sharp claws attacked her straight. In desperation, she had to take out a sharp sword from her personal space and block it in front of her. Chong! A harsh collision sounded. The offensive of the beasts was blocked, while Ji Yunshuang was repelled, and slammed into the tree trunk on the side. His mouth was sweet, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. No. She seems to be seriously injured. One of the lords discovered Ji Yunshuang's condition and couldn't help but exclaimed. When the other lord saw this, he also let out a light hum. Huh? Really, wait a minute, don't kill her first. In a blink of an eye, those 7th-tier troops surrounded Ji Yunshuang, who had seriously injured Fushu, in the middle, cutting off all her back paths. And the two lords were also surrounded by arms and came out of the encirclement. I didn't expect it to be a seriously injured body, which made me worry for nothing. Looking carefully, she's still a beautiful woman, but she's been in a panic recently, so let me have a good time first. Little lady, if you don't want to die too badly, it's best not to resist, obediently make us feel comfortable, and at least let you live, hee. After seeing Ji Yunshuang's appearance, the two walked in slowly with lewd smiles on their faces. Ji Yunshuang stared at them stubbornly without saying a word, but there was endless unwillingness in his heart. She hates living here by myself, there is no way to summon troops. I hate myself for being too weak. Even 2 Sixth Order lords can't deal with it. Now that there is no way back, with her current situation, it is basically impossible to escape. Rather than being defiled by the beasts of these 2 other realms, it's better to end it yourself. Father, my daughter is not filial and can't serve you anymore. Mother, my daughter will come down to accompany you. Ji Yunshuang's body trembled. Even though the mud had covered her fair face and her hair was messed up, she still couldn't hide her pride and indomitableness as a princess. Seeing that the two gradually approached, he finally became ruthless and took out a dagger from his personal space. Not good. She wants to kill herself. Stop her. Seeing the dagger that suddenly appeared in Ji Yunshuang's hand, the two lords changed their expressions and wanted to rush over to stop it. But at this time, whoosh, 2 air-breaking sounds suddenly sounded. 2 wooden thorns appeared out of thin air and shot straight at the chests of the 2 lords. Puff. The blood flower exploded. The chests of the 2 lords were instantly pierced, and the rushing footsteps stopped instantly. Their eyes were round, and they stared at the huge hole in their chests in amazement, and their mouths opened and opened. But in the end, he didn't even make a sound, his eyes went black, and he fell to the ground with a bang. Along with their beast troops, they also died one after another. This sudden change suddenly made Ji Yunshuang, who just wanted to commit suicide, froze in place, his eyes full of confusion, have absolutely no idea what happened. You should leave me and run away. Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded behind her. Ji Yunshuang was shocked and suddenly looked behind him. I saw that Lin Yu, who had fallen to the ground because of the impact just now, had woken up at some point, still maintaining the attacking action of firing wooden thorns in one hand. Lin Yu! Are you awake? Ji Yunshuang was inexplicably surprised, and hurriedly dropped the dagger and ran over to help Lin Yu up. How? Are you all right? Ah, it hurts. Don't move. Lin Yu breathed a sigh of relief and almost didn't hold his breath. Hearing his cry, Ji Yunshuang finally reacted. Hug, sorry, my movement was too big, didn't I hurt you? It's okay, just help me over there and lean on it. Lin Yu pointed to the big tree on the side, and then mobilized the remaining power of the rules in the Godhead to use a healing technique on himself. In an instant, the light of nature surrounded him, slowly repairing the injury on his body. Ji Yunchuang, who had just helped him to the side of the big tree, saw this, and his eyes widened. This is the power of rules. How could you use the power of rules, Lin Yu? This time, she was really surprised. The power of rules is a patent reserved for lords above the 10th rank. How could Lin Yu, a rank 7 lord, use it? And the moment she finished speaking, she suddenly reacted. Don't the 2 wooden thorns just now also contain the power of rules? Is it all from Lin Yu's handwriting? Just, luck got the chance. Lin Yu moved out of the previous coping rhetoric unexpectedly. Ji Yunchuang gave him a blank look. I think let's see what opportunities can make people at the 7th level use the power of rules. But this time, she seemed to be used to it. So after the shock, he continued, don't worry, I won't tell anyone about this, including my father. Thank you. Lin Yu smiled slightly. This is what Ji Yunchuang likes the most. He is very intelligent and has a delicate mind. It didn't take much words at all to understand what he meant. This is probably the reason why he always cooperates with Ji Yunchuang to fight. I think you'd better not be too happy too soon. But at this moment, Ji Yunchuang suddenly poured a basin of cold water. Do you know where we are now? Where? Lin Yu was stunned for a moment. Inside the original Sha world, and there is no way to communicate with the territory. This time, Lin Yu was really stunned. He tried it out, and sure enough, he disconnected from the territory and could not recruit troops. Thinking about it this way, this seems to have happened before. Just when he was involved in the void, he directly disconnected from the territory, and all the troops were forcibly recalled to the territory, and he didn't even have time to summon the forest sage. After all, the incident happened suddenly, and he didn't react at once. In this way, his troops should be all right. Let him finally relax a little. And being teleported into the Yuansha realm is considered a blessing in misfortune, at least there is hope of going back. By the way, why didn't you just throw me away and run away? Under the big tree, Lin Yu asked while using the healing technique to treat the injuries on his body. Although he had been in a coma before, he could still vaguely perceive the surrounding situation. Given that he was seriously injured and dying at the time, Ji Yunchuang could actually leave him alone and escape by himself. This way the chances of survival will be much higher. You think I don't want to? Ji Yunchuang glanced at him, took a mouthful of the dry food in his hand, and said vaguely, if it wasn't because you rescued me from the turbulent spatial flow, I would be too lazy to care about you. Now we are even. After getting out of danger, Ji Yunchuang returned to his previous demeanor. Probably because she is no longer alone, her whole person has become much more relaxed, and she is no longer as nervous as before, taking every step of the way. Lin Yu watched her silently for a while, and then smiled slightly. Okay, it's a draw, so what's your plan next? What else can we plan? We can only find a way to get back to the primitive continent first. It's too dangerous for us to stay here. Ji Yunchuang's expression gradually became serious. Yes. Lin Yu nodded lightly, but we all have injuries on our bodies now. It will take a while to fully recover. Let's go on the road together when the injuries heal. Well, that's what I thought too. That's all. After doing some summing up on the spot, and recovering some injuries through healing techniques and healing medicine, the two continued on their way, looking for a place to hide around the forest. Until nearly evening. They finally found a cave in a hidden corner, just enough for the two of them to hide. After moving branches to cover the entrance of the cave, I went to the cave to start a fire to heal my wounds, and by the way, I got some food to restore my strength. How is it? Can you hold on? Lin Yu sat by the fire and asked. Don't worry, I'm not that weak yet, but you are hurt more than me. Are you sure you're going to set off tomorrow? Ji Yunchuang picked up the firewood and looked up at Lin Yu. Well, now I don't know how the battle situation is on the other side of the battlefield. Should it be still going on? Ji Yunchuang stared at the flames, his eyes kept zooming away. I don't know how far it is from the battlefield. By the time we rush back, the war is probably already over. Perhaps. Lin Yu nodded silently and didn't think about it. After all, they are now in the primordial Sha world, and the most important thing to consider is how to escape from here safely. After all, there are their enemies everywhere, and they may encounter danger at any time. The only thing that is fortunate is that he has a godhead fragment, and he is barely able to defend himself. As long as you don't encounter lords or practitioners above the 7th rank, there should be no problem. In Ji Yunshuang's words, fighting alone is at least a 7th rank, which can help a lot. As long as you are careful, you may be able to return to the original continent smoothly. Okay, it's cooked, let's eat first, and we have to hurry up tomorrow. At this moment, Ji Yunshuang's voice sounded, interrupting Lin Yu's thoughts. As soon as he raised his head, a wooden bowl filled with broth appeared in front of him, accompanied by the fragrant meat aroma, mixed with several spices. I can't see that you still have this kind of craftsmanship. Lin Yu took the broth with surprise. He had always thought that Ji Yunshuang, as a princess, should have a more delicate temperament and couldn't do such rough work, but the result was a bit unexpected. It's nothing, I learned it when I was wandering around with my parents. Ji Yunshuang said casually, and sat back in his seat. Hearing her words, Lin Yu was even more surprised. Wandering? The king still wants to wander? Well, it was before my father reached the 10th level. At that time I was very young, and I happened to encounter a beast tide. My father's territory could not withstand the attack, and he was forced to move the territory until it was established. It was only after the great wilderness principality settled down. So that's what it is. Lin Yu suddenly realized. No wonder he always felt that Ji Yunshuang didn't have the squeamishness of being a princess, it was because he had such an experience. Then, he thought of something, and suddenly asked, what about your mother? Why have I never heard of you? My mother, she died in that beast tide. Ji Yunshuang paused, her eyes gradually becoming lonely. Although she was trying her best to cover it up, Lin Yu could still feel that her body was very tense, and she even trembled a little, even the arm holding the wooden bowl was shaking. It looks like he asked the wrong question. Feel sorry, he said apologetically. Suddenly, the whole cave became quiet. Only the crackling from the inside of the fire. After a while, Ji Yunshuang shook his head slightly. It's okay, it's been many years ago, didn't you just ask me why I didn't leave you alone and run away? That's what my mother taught me. At that time I was besieged by beasts, and my mother rushed in and rescued me. She supported me until my father came back, so I swore at that time that I must become stronger. Never let this kind of thing happen again. Full of firm voices, constantly echoing in the cave. Lin Yu listened silently, and couldn't help but feel a little moved. He didn't expect Ji Yunshuang to have such an unknown side. No wonder she was a princess and had a lot of resources at her fingertips, yet she went to the battlefield alone and fought bravely to kill the enemy. This is much stronger than many lords. As for Ji Yunshuang, it seemed that because he spoke out the thoughts that had been buried in his heart for many years, the whole person became a lot easier. He drank the broth in one gulp and hummed, "What? Don't believe me? Don't look at me as a woman. In the future, I will surpass my father and become the empress standing on the top of this continent." Lin Yu opened his mouth, and was really struck by her arrogance. However, it was precisely because of Ji Yunshuang's transformation that he was infected, and said with a smile, "Since you can become an empress, then I have to become a great emperor in the future, haha. Then let's work together." Well, let's work together. The two looked at each other and felt a little amused. The two people in distress, who still don't know if they will be able to return alive, even in such an inconspicuous little cave, said such arrogant rhetoric that did not match, and were not afraid of being laughed at. However, after this incident, the relationship between Lin Yu and Ji Yunshuang became much closer. It's not the love between men and women, but the feeling of sympathy, probably because they both have the same goal. That's all. After eating and drinking, and chatting for a while about tomorrow's plans, the two went to a corner of the cave to rest. Silent all night. The next morning, Lin Yu and Ji Yunshuang woke up early. After checking their belongings and the injuries on their bodies, they looked at each other and left the cave directly. After a night of rest and treatment, although the injuries on the two of them could not be completely healed, they did not affect their movements. This is thanks to the power of Lin Yu's rules. Otherwise, I am afraid that it will take a longer time to hide before going on the road. Let's go. I studied the direction of the sun yesterday, and the primitive continent should be there. Ji Yunshuang pointed to the southeast and said, and at the same time took out a long sword from his personal space and put it on his waist for self-defense. I don't know how far it is from the battlefield. It's best to grab a low-level practitioner and ask. Lin Yu looked around, waved his hand, and a force of nature wrapped the two of them, supplying energy to the body continuously. Then, they went straight to the road, rushed over in the direction Ji Yunshuang pointed, and quickly left the forest where they were. And this time, in the frontline battlefield, Ji Xinghe, who had just returned from the front line, finally received the news of Ji Yunshuang's disappearance. What did you say? Yunshuang and Lin Yu are missing? Ji Xinghe stared at his subordinates, who came back to report the news in front of him. Reporting to the king, this is what the other lords who were present said, that they were accidentally involved in the turbulent space, and they don't know their life or death. How can it be? They are clearly on the periphery of the battlefield. How can they be involved in the turbulent space? Ji Xinghe's aura suddenly erupted, and the subordinate was almost breathless. Yes, it was a 11th Order Lord of the original Sha world. He was fighting the king of the Nebula Kingdom. Beast thing. The dignified king actually shot against the low-level lord. Boom. Ji Xinghe suddenly slapped the boulder in front of him into pieces, causing the surrounding space to vibrate violently. However, as a king, he calmed down quickly, and immediately said, "Go back and see if Yunshuang's territory is still there, use the fastest speed, come back and report to me immediately after reading it." Yes. The subordinate loosened his entire body, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and immediately led the way. In just a few short movements, he disappeared from Ji Xinghe's sight. Ji Xinghe stood there alone, his eyes were full of worry, but in the end he had to let out a long sigh. The other side. Lin Yu and the two who left the forest soon came to a broad official road. From time to time, I can meet a few cultivators passing by. Be careful, it looks like there should be a territory nearby. Lin Yu hid behind a bush and whispered to Ji Yunshuang, who was beside him. Behind them, there were several corpses, with wide-eyed eyes, lying impressively. That was the mountain bandit who just met them on the road and saw them in rags and wanted to rob them of their money. In the end, I didn't expect that when I met Lin Yu's tough stubble, I was immediately killed. Lin Yu also inquired about the surrounding environment from one of the mountain bandits, and finally understood their current situation. The place where they are now is in the territory of a country called the Principality of Eight Gates, and there are two other empires separated from the Dongli Empire on the frontier battlefield. That is to say, if they want to rush back to the original continent, they must traverse the two empires. I didn't expect that we would be teleported to such a far place. It's a little troublesome now. Ji Yunshuang frowned slightly, and there was a deep worry in his eyes. It is easier said than done to span three empires, and it is also the three empires of the original Sha world. If you are a little careless, you may be discovered by the lord of the original Shajia and be chased and killed wildly. In case of encountering a lord above the 8th rank, it can basically be said that there is no life. Lin Yu naturally knew this, so his heart was also extremely heavy. At this moment, there was a faint voice of conversation in the distance. I heard that an ultra-long-distance teleportation formation was built in the capital, which is connected to the frontline battlefield, and many lords ran over to support it. Ah? Is there such a thing? Is this attack in the primitive world so fierce? As the saying goes, the speaker has no intention and the listener has the heart. The conversation from a distance made Lin Yu's eyes light up. Ultra-long-distance teleportation array. And it is still connected to the teleportation array on the frontline battlefield. If they can ride that, wouldn't they be able to teleport directly to the frontline battlefield? Lin Yu and Ji Yunchuang looked at each other and could see the excitement in each other's eyes. After the passers-by walked away, Lin Yu finally couldn't help but say, ultra-long-distance teleportation array. We people from other realms should also be able to use it, right? It should be possible. Ji Yunchuang nodded, like this kind of teleportation array, as long as there is energy supply, no matter what it is, it can be teleported, but the energy consumption is different, and it has nothing to do with other things. That's good. Lin Yu took a deep breath. Since that's the case, then it's decided, we'll use that teleportation array to teleport back. Using that? Ji Yunchuang said in surprise. But how can we hide from the lords of the primordial demon realm and use the teleportation array without them knowing? You know, this time is the most intense time of the war between the two worlds. There will definitely be many high-level lords of the original Sha world gathered around the teleportation array, and it is almost impossible to get close to the teleportation array under their noses. It's good not to be slaughtered. Don't worry, I have my own way. Lin Yu smiled mysteriously and sold it first. In short, let's go to the teleportation array to see the situation first. If possible, my plan should work. Okay, listen to you. Ji Yunchuang didn't say much. Having been with Lin Yu for so long, he knew that Lin Yu had many ideas. Moreover, in their current situation, only the teleportation array can escape. So I didn't think much about it. After some discussion, the two set off again, bypassing the nearby cities, and hurried to the direction of the Duke's capital. That's all. The two went all the way to inquire about the news. Finally, at noon on the third day, he arrived at the capital of the Principality of Beiman, near Hunyuan City. Is this Hunyuan City? Ji Yunchuang hid behind a boulder, looking at the huge city in the distance that stretched for almost 100 kilometers through the gap, with a solemn expression on his face. It shouldn't be wrong. Look at the lords coming and going, and the beam of light in the city. It should be the teleportation array. Lin Yu hid beside him and also observed the situation in the distance. But what he saw more was the lords who came and went. I don't know if it's because of the war, but many lords are coming from all directions, making the entire capital extraordinarily lively outside. On the city gate and city wall, there are teams of cultivators patrolling back and forth everywhere, and it seems to be extremely guarded. With so many guards and lords, I'm afraid it's not easy to get in. Is your method really effective? Ji Yunchuang asked worriedly. After all, the two of them are only 7th order, so rashly sneaking into the city, once found, it will be difficult to fly. She even regretted it a little. If she had known that this would happen, she would have kept a few hidden things in her personal space for use, and she would not be restricted everywhere like she is now. Just thinking about it, she found that Lin Yu's aura suddenly disappeared beside her, turning into another completely unfamiliar aura. Turning her head, Lin Yu was still standing there, which made her surprised. You, how did you manage to change your breath? Oh, this is a skill of one of my troops. It can force the breath to become the friendly state of the original Sha world, so that they should not notice us. Saying that, Lin Yu waved his arm, and a force of nature wrapped Ji Yunchuang inside, and also hid her primitive aura. This skill is exactly the skill that Fraud Willow realizes after leveling up to the 7th rank. Because of the relationship between the Godhead fragments, Lin Yu also obtained this ability. And this is also his first attempt, and he did not expect it to be so successful. Seeing that the sun above his head began to gradually set in the west, he said, "Let's go. This ability should deceive the lords and cultivators of the 6th and 7th ranks. It should be no problem, just be careful not to be discovered by the lords above the 8th rank, okay?" Ji Yunchuang nodded stunned, and finally reacted, feeling the change in her own breath with a look of surprise. She had only seen this kind of magical power in her father and other kings. Could it be that Lin Yu also merged with the Godhead? How can that be? He is only level 7. However, without giving her much time to think about it, Lin Yu had already left the place and sneaked into the official road when those people didn't notice it. Ji Yunchuang didn't dare to neglect, he followed his pace closely and went outside together. Then the two pretended to be cultivators passing by and slowly approached the city gate. Lin Yu, are you sure this method really works? Ji Yunchuang said in a voice that only two people could hear. Especially when she saw the city gate guard getting closer and closer, she became even more nervous. Relax, those guarding the city gates are only up to the 7th rank, and they can't see through our disguise. Lin Yu slapped his hand and strengthened the disguise for the two of them. Slowly, they avoided those high-ranking lords and followed the flow of people outside the city to the guards. Then, under the stern gazes of those guards, he slowly passed through the city gate. Not to mention, even Lin Yu couldn't help his heartbeat speed up when he was swept by their eyes. But in order not to show his footsteps, he had to hold his breath and try to be natural enough to not let the other party see the clue. Fortunately, the whole process didn't last long. Probably because there were too many people, those guards just glanced at them and let them go, followed the team into the city. Success! The two looked at each other, and the emotional words were palpable. Not daring to stay for a long time, after looking at the bustling street in front of him, he pretended to be careless and turned into the side streets and alleys, and chose a place with few people to go. With the guidance of the transmission beam, it also saved the effort of finding someone to inquire, and rushed all the way to the center of the city. In the process of hurrying, they also encountered many 8th-9th order lords and practitioners, and they had to be forced to change their paths. It wasn't until mid-afternoon that the two men finally arrived at the center of the capital, beside a heavily guarded square. Lin Yu, look. It's a teleportation formation. Ji Yunchuang saw a giant teleportation formation with white light above the square at a glance, and couldn't help but let out a low cry. Lin Yu was also excited, and nodded with trembling eyes. But right now, he was startled by the garrison forces around the square. Because just outside the square, there are several 8th Order teams patrolling back and forth. Not to mention the surroundings of the teleportation array, all of them are all the original Shaman World Lords, lined up one by one to enter the teleportation array. It's a bit difficult, Lin Yu frowned and said. Indeed, if we go directly like this, we will definitely be discovered immediately. Ji Yunchuang also reacted, and the excitement on his face gradually dissipated. They finally came here. If you don't hurry up to teleport, there will be mishaps. Moreover, there are high-level lords everywhere, and the longer they stay, the more dangerous they will be. They must act as soon as possible before anyone finds them. It seems that there is only one fight. Lin Yu's face sank and he said in a low voice. Are you going to rush over directly? Yes, this is the only way. Lin Yu nodded seriously. As long as we can teleport to the frontier battlefield and communicate with the territory, we will have a chance to escape, which is better than waiting here to die. Also, as long as you reach the battlefield, you should be able to sense the territory. Ji Yunchuang recognized Lin Yu's idea, but at the same time was very nervous. This was probably the craziest thing she had ever done in her life. But when she thought of her previous lofty ambitions, she couldn't help but get serious. If she can't even get through such a difficult time, how can she become an empress? Are you ready? Get ready to act. Lin Yu said again. Well, let's get started. Ji Yunchuang calmed down and took a deep breath. Go. After saying that, Lin Yu took the lead to leave the alley and walked towards the square slowly. Soon, they passed through the entrance, guarded by the guards, and followed several 7th Order lords into the square, while secretly observing the movements of others around them. Seeing that the teleportation array was getting closer and closer to them, the two of them were extremely nervous in their hearts, as if they could hear their own thumping heartbeats. You two, wait a minute. Unexpectedly. Just about halfway into the square, a shout suddenly came from a distance. An 8th Order lord led a team of people and walked towards them slowly. Lin Yu and Ji Yunchuang felt tight, because they could clearly feel that the lord's eyes fell on them. And there is still a hint of sharpness in his eyes, obviously he has noticed the abnormality in them. Sure enough, it is still too difficult for the 7th Order ability to hide from the eyes of the 8th Order lord. However, the two did not stop according to the other's words, but pretended not to hear, and continued to move forward, speeding up a bit. Didn't you hear me? Stop me right now. The face of the Eighth Order Lord sank, and he finally confirmed the conjecture in his heart, and also attracted the attention of others around him. Rush! Without any hesitation, Lin Yu shouted, and together with Ji Yunchuang, suddenly rushed towards the teleportation formation in the center of the square. Upon seeing this, the Eighth Order Lord suddenly screamed and roared, "Hurry up and stop them! They are spies from other realms." What? Spies from other realms? How bold! How dare you run into the capital? Catch them now! The lords exclaimed again and again, and issued orders to their respective arms to surround Lin Yu and the two. Unexpectedly, several translucent mirror walls suddenly appeared in front of them, blocking their way. By the time they smashed the mirror wall, Lin Yu and Ji Yunchuang had already run into the teleportation formation. Not good. They want to teleport away. Shut down the teleportation array. It's a pity that no matter how they shouted, they were still a step behind in response. I saw a large white light suddenly lit up. With a swish, Lin Yu and Ji Yunchuang disappeared directly in front of them and teleported to the frontier battlefield. What's more, his terrifying perception has always enveloped the entire area, and he will know immediately when there is a change, so he doesn't need to be taboo at all. However, there are always surprises in everything. Just when the two were talking, two white lights suddenly lit up on the teleportation array on the side, and two silhouettes appeared. And the content of their conversation, word for word, was heard by those two people. The Yuansha realm actually colluded with the True Spirit realm again. They planned to kill the great emperor of their primitive realm. Lin Yu, who had just been sent over, instantly set off a storm in his heart, and his whole body was shaken in place. And Ji Yunchuang, who was next to him, also had a pale face. She was shocked by the sudden news, and she took a few steps back. Okay? At this moment, the two Tenth Order lords finally noticed something strange and suddenly looked at them. Not good. Run away. Lin Yu's expression changed wildly. He grabbed Ji Yunchuang and rushed out of the teleportation formation, flying towards the outside of the base camp. It's a person from the primitive world. Want to escape? Stay with me. The expressions of the two 10th rank lords sank, and they did not give them a chance to escape at all. They waved their hands directly, and a terrifying power suddenly erupted, falling towards them from all directions. In front of this power, Lin Yu only felt like a small boat in the sea, without any resistance at all. Ready to send. Who dared to hesitate? After shouting to Ji Yunchuang beside him, he summoned an ancient tree surrounded by rules. Impressively, it is the royal soldier that he just mutated, the forest sage. The moment the forest sage appeared, a Weng Ming sounded. In an instant, an invisible wave erupted with the forest sage as the center, and spread out to the surroundings. The attack that was about to fall on Lin Yu and the others actually dissipated in an instant and turned into nothingness in an instant. Even the two 10th Order lords suddenly lost their connection to the power of the rules and could not launch any attacks. This is... The two lords widened their eyes in astonishment. It was the first time they encountered such a strange situation. Even a 10th Order attack can be ineffective. Those high-ranking lords who heard the call and ran over were also full of astonishment, as if they had been deprived of their power. However, they were not given a chance to react at all. The moment the peace domain was activated, Lin Yu and Ji Yunchuang took out the teleportation crystal that had been prepared long ago from their personal space and used it directly. Fortunately, after they arrived here, the teleportation crystal finally successfully communicated with the main city of the original world. After 10 seconds passed, two white lights lit up. Lin Yu, Ji Yunchuang and the forest sages disappeared directly in place, leaving only a bunch of lords of the original evil world who were stunned in place, and the silent station. After a while, only then did the two 10th Order lords react and looked at each other. Go and inform the Emperor. When the words fell, he tore open the space and disappeared in place. The other side. Lin Yu, who escaped from death, suddenly appeared in the main city of Angel Wings. It was too late to cherish the familiar surroundings, so he quickly clicked on the private chat interface and wanted to contact the king and the others. No. My father is not in this area. Ji Yunshuang shouted in panic. If you are not in the same area, there is no way to contact them in private chat. Go. Go to the checkpoint. You should be able to find other kings by teleporting to the front line. You must bring the news there as soon as possible. Lin Yu made a decisive decision and immediately summoned the demon king dragon to rush to the teleportation portal of the checkpoint. When Ji Yunshuang heard the words, she also summoned her holy angels. Huh? Isn't this Lin Yu? Unexpectedly. At this moment, there was a sudden surprise behind him. The two of them who had just wanted to ride on and leave, suddenly turned around in confusion. Then he saw Qin Li, the third prince of the Vault of Heaven Empire, rushing over with a group of his subordinates, as if he was about to leave the city. Third prince, you came just in time. Is there any way for you to contact the emperor, or other kings? Anyone will do. I have urgent matters to report. Seeing Qin Li, Lin Yu seemed to see hope, rushed over and grabbed him by the shoulder, hurriedly said. What are you looking for the emperor for? Qin Li was immediately overwhelmed by Lin Yu's fierce reaction. If you are looking for it, my father, the emperor, is stationed in the city right now. What did you say? The Vault of Heaven is here? Lin Yu and Ji Yunshuang's eyes brightened instantly. Yeah, haven't we fought badly with the Yuansha realm recently? My father was worried that the Yuansha realm would attack the rear, so he stayed and garrisoned. That's great. Just tell the emperor that the Yuansha realm is colluding with the true spirit realm, and is ready to attack the emperor of our primitive realm, so be careful. What? Are you telling the truth? Now it was Qin Li's turn to be shocked, his eyes widened. But after seeing the extremely serious expressions of Lin Yu and Ji Yunshuang, his face froze and he immediately reacted. Okay, I'll contact the emperor right away. Having said that, he hurriedly clicked on the interface to contact Emperor Tianqiong. Lin Yu and Ji Yunshuang waited anxiously on the side, and at the same time they were very worried. They were worried that the Yuansha realm would act in advance due to the leak of news. But what they didn't expect was. Their idea just appeared, a proud figure with a 7-point similarity to Qin Li suddenly appeared in front of them, exuding boundless terrifying power. Is everything you said true? This person is the supreme controller of the Vault of Heaven Empire, the Emperor of the Vault of Heaven. As soon as his voice fell, an invisible aura completely enveloped the two of Lin Yu, as if they told a lie, they would be instantly killed. It's true. We all heard it from the 10th rank lord of the Yuansha realm. Lin Yu said directly without being humble or silent. Emperor Tianqiong watched him silently for a while, and finally took back his breath. Okay, come with me. As he said that, he waved his hand directly, leading him and Ji Yunshuang to disappear directly on the spot. When they reappeared, they had already appeared on a ruined square, surrounded by primitive world lords who were being refurbished. It seemed that they had just experienced a war. And where they are, is the ruins left after the main city of the original Shajia was destroyed. Now, it has become the base of their primitive world. Lin Yu was extremely surprised. He didn't expect that in just a few days, the main city of the Yuansha realm had already been captured. However, immediately, his thoughts were interrupted by the voice of Emperor Qiong Tian. Everyone, come out and get together, I have something important. Swish swish. The voice fell, and several figures appeared instantly, each exuding an extremely terrifying power. The surrounding lords who were repairing their injuries were suddenly startled by this sudden battle, and their eyes widened in shock. Tianqiong, aren't you staying in the main city? Why did you come here all of a sudden? The oldest emperor spoke first. Several other great emperors looked at Emperor Qiong Tian with the same doubts. As for Emperor Xingyao, he looked at Lin Yu and the others in surprise. But before he could speak, he heard Emperor Tianqiong say in a deep voice, the situation has changed, the real spirit world of the original evil world has colluded again, and they want to join forces to kill me and so on. What did you say? The expressions of the great emperors changed suddenly. Tianqiong, are you sure this news is true? What a real spirit world. Last time, the Battle of 10,000 Realms joined forces with Yuan Shijian and us. We didn't ask them to settle accounts, so they dared to do it first? I'll just say why it feels a little wrong. The attack went so smoothly. It seems that there is indeed a conspiracy in the Yuansha realm. Great emperors, every word you say to me, one by one looks extremely angry. The Yuansha realm and the true spirit realm are really daring and dare to hit them. The news is that these two little guys brought back. I have confirmed it, so it shouldn't be wrong. Emperor Tianqiong gestured to Lin Yu and Ji Yunshuang beside him. In an instant, all the great emperors looked at them, surprised, doubtful, and even surprised, especially when they looked at Lin Yu, because they actually felt a divine aura on Lin Yu. Is there a godhead on the Seventh Order Lord? Although that breath was too weak for them, it was indeed a godhead. Even Emperor Xingyao looked at Lin Yu in astonishment, but he didn't expect that Lin Yu still had such a chance. With a slight smile, he interrupted them, brothers, don't doubt, they are from my subordinate duchy, and one of them is the daughter of the king of the duchy. They won't make jokes about this kind of thing. He was guaranteeing the two of Lin Yu. When the other great emperors heard the words, they were suddenly stunned. It turned out to be the people under Brother Xingyao, so I can rest assured. Brother Xingyao, you have a good talent. You guys are joking. The most important thing now is how to deal with the alliance between Yuansha realm and True Spirit realm. It's not too late. Let's go back and discuss it first. These great emperors are all existences standing at the top of the continent. I was only slightly surprised by the aura of the godhead on Lin Yu. I didn't care too much. After all, the 10th Order godhead was just a precious resource for them. Instead, it was Emperor Xingyao's words that made them look awe-inspiring. After looking at each other, they instantly disappeared in place, leaving only Emperor Xingyao to stay in place, which made Lin Yu finally breathe a sigh of relief. Great Emperor, where is my father now? Ji Yunshuang didn't know what the great emperors said just now. Seeing that all the other great emperors were gone, she finally couldn't help asking, with a hint of anxiety in her eyes. Because just now, she tried to contact her father, and although she didn't respond in the slightest, causing a sudden unease in her heart. Your father, he was seriously injured and is still in a coma. Emperor Xingyao said slowly, unconscious. Ji Yunshuang trembled, covering her mouth. How could it be? This happened 2 days ago. Emperor Xingyao sighed helplessly. You were targeted for disappearance by the high-ranking lord of the Yuansha realm before, so your father ran over to avenge you, but was ambushed by 2 10th rankers on the opposite side. Then where is he now? Ji Yunshuang asked. I'm recovering in the camp over there. Emperor Xingyao pointed to the main city building in the distance. Whoosh! Before the voice could fall, Ji Yunshuang shot out and hurried over there. All of a sudden, there were only Emperor Xingyao and Lin Yu left in the surrounding area. Old Su, it's getting dark, are you still here? Frontier battlefield. Next to a huge teleportation array in the original Shajie camp. A majestic burly man suddenly appeared and came to a middle-aged man in white. Both of them are the 10th Order lords who are responsible for guarding the camp at the rear of the camp. On the side, there are countless high-level lords who have teleported from various places, and the white light that is constantly emerging in the teleportation array. All of them were sent over to reinforce the battlefield. You just went through a big battle today. If you don't take a good rest, what are you doing here with me? The lord known as Lao Su glanced at the big man and said lightly. There is nothing to rest, the primitive realm has been arrogant for a while. The big man shrugged, showing a trace of disdain. Those idiots, they really thought they could take us by breaking the main city, just wait. And wait for a few great emperors from the real spirit world to rush over tomorrow to see how arrogant they are. Silence. The middle-aged man in Baiyi's complexion changed, and he put his finger in front of his mouth. What's there to be afraid of? This is the base camp of our primordial realm. Could it be that people from the primordial realm can still sneak in? The big man said nonchalantly. Besides, the primitive realm would never have imagined that the great emperors had already negotiated with the true spirit realm side to join forces to kill their great emperor. They are probably still celebrating their victory there. Really? As the big man said. This is the war base of the Yuansha realm. There are high-level lords coming and going, and there are even a group of kings who have reached the 10th order. Even if a fly wants to fly in, it is as difficult as going to the sky. Boy, does anyone else know about your godhead shards? There was no one around, Emperor Xingyao said straight to the point. When Lin Yu heard this, his heart froze, and sure enough, the matter of his godhead could not escape the emperor's eyes. Although the great emperor rank does not look down on the 10th rank godhead, he is still a little nervous. After hesitating for a while, he said, only Ji Yunchuang knows a little bit, but she doesn't know that this is a godhead. That's good. Emperor Xingyao nodded silently, and then his expression gradually became serious. You remember, you must never let other people know about your godhead, otherwise it will lead to death. Yes, I know. Lin Yu responded immediately. He still knows the truth of the common man's innocence and his guilt. You just understand. And after hearing his answer, Emperor Xingyao also smiled with satisfaction. This time, you have done another great service for the primitive continent, and you really made me look up. Do you know that the news you brought back is equivalent to saving at least one great emperor's loss? So the great emperor wants to reward me? Lin Yu's eyes lit up and he looked at Emperor Xingyao with anticipation. You're really not polite at all. Is there someone who wants to reward you directly? Emperor Xingyao glared at him fiercely, but the smile on his face remained the same. After all, Lin Yu has indeed made a great contribution this time, and it is also a great contribution that is related to the luck of the entire primitive world. Taking into account the fact that the spy of Yuansha realm was discovered before, Emperor Xingyao suddenly discovered that this kid in his subordinate principality is really a lucky star sent to him by God. And the potential of this kid surprised him. Even faintly had the demeanor of his past. As long as he is trained well, maybe he can have an extra 11th rank. In fact, there is a chance to become an emperor? One country and two emperors, if this kind of thing really happens, it can definitely be called a good story, and his face is very bright when he says it. Thinking of this, he coughed lightly and said, You have made a great contribution this time, and you have won face for our Xingyao Empire. Naturally, you will have a reward, and this time, I plan to give you a big gift. As he spoke, he directly waved his hand and sealed off the space around the two of them so that no one outside could see or hear them. Big gift? What is it? Lin Yu swallowed his saliva, full of expectations. However, before he could think about it, he saw Emperor Xingyao stretch out his palm, and an irregular crystal that shone with golden light and changed its shape suddenly appeared, instantly illuminating the entire space where they were. This is Godhead Fragment. Lin Yu stared, and suddenly exclaimed. He had thought that Emperor Xingyao would give him rare troops or powerful treasures. However, he never expected that what Emperor Xingyao took out was actually a piece of Godhead. In an instant, Lin Yu's breathing became rapid, and he looked at the piece of Godhead eagerly, and almost grabbed it directly. How is it? Are you still satisfied with this reward? Seeing Lin Yu's reaction, Emperor Xingyao smiled even more. Is this really going to be given to me? Lin Yu looked at the fragments of the Godhead, and then at Emperor Xingyao, somewhat in disbelief. Yes, it's for you. Emperor Xingyao nodded. You have now fused the first piece of Godhead, and the power of that Godhead will help you fuse the second piece of Godhead, and your strength will also change. It's much stronger, and it's a reward for your hard work to bring back news. Thank you the Great. Lin Yu didn't dare to hesitate. He directly took the fragments of the Godhead, put them in his hands and whimpered. The gentle touch of the hand made him excited, and then he carefully put it into his personal space and did not absorb it on the spot. Emperor Xingyao was very satisfied with his calm response. He continued, Girl Yinchuang, I will find her again when the time comes. Since I've already rewarded you, I'll do a little more for you. After speaking, he waved his hand again. A magical power of rules enveloped Lin Yu. Congratulations to the Lord, obtained the blessing of the Emperor, obtained status, hidden. Hidden, hide the regular breath on the body, making it impossible for people below the 12th level to detect. Hide the atmosphere of rules. Hearing the voice resounding in his mind, Lin Yu was inexplicably surprised. Unexpectedly, when Emperor Xingyao raised his hand, he solved one of his major problems. This time, as long as he doesn't easily use the power of rules in front of others, no one will find out that he has fragments of Godhead on him, and there is no need to worry about being targeted by high-level lords. It was a blessing in disguise for him to be killed this time. Okay, it's time for me to discuss things with the great emperors. You can go back first. Emperor Xingyao didn't give Lin Yu much chance to react. He just took a deep look at him, then removed the space blockade around him and disappeared directly in place. Lin Yu took a deep breath and suppressed his excitement before turning around and leaving, rushing in the direction Ji Yunchuang left just now. After a while, he came to a fairly intact church on the street. As soon as he walked in the door, he saw Ji Yunchuang sitting beside a bed, with tears all over his face, looking like he had cried. Lying on the bed was Ji Xinghe, who was seriously injured and in a coma. On the side, there are also Ji Xinghe's subordinates. They clearly recognized Lin Yu, and when they saw him coming in, they didn't stop him. How is it? Is the king seriously injured? Lin Yu stepped forward and asked softly. Ji Yunchuang raised her head and glanced at him, with haggard written all over her face. The other kings who came to heal said that my father's Godhead is damaged, and it takes the power of faith to repair it before he can wake up. Yes. Lin Yu secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the worst situation did not occur. If it is only the Godhead that is damaged, Emperor Xingyao should have a way to repair it. After all, it is still a 10th order combat power, and Emperor Xingyao will definitely not ignore it. Thinking of this, he said, Why don't we go back first? I'm afraid it won't be peaceful here later. All right. Ji Yunchuang nodded. When she came back with Lin Yu, she could naturally anticipate what might happen next. Staying here will only become more and more dangerous. As predicted. She just got up when a reminder suddenly sounded in the minds of all the lords of the primitive realm. Lords, please note that the Continental War Order is over. The cross-border teleportation array will be closed in 2 hours, please leave the battlefield, quickly. Lords, please note that the Continental War Order is over. The cross-border teleportation array will be closed in 2 hours, please leave the battlefield, quickly. The system prompt rang twice in succession, constantly echoing in the minds of the lords. Whether it was fighting, repairing, or attacking the territory around the Yuansha realm, they all stopped. After so many days of attacking, is it finally over? This is too fast. I haven't earned enough points yet. Haha, in the past 4 days, I have accumulated a total of more than 100,000 points, and I can finally go back and exchange architectural drawings. Let's go, retreat. The teleportation array will be shut down in 2 hours. What kind of teleportation array do you want? This time I earned so many points, and I directly teleport the crystal back. Forget it, this time, let's let the cubs of the original Shajia breed first, haha. The lords of the primitive world shouted and retreated, retreating from various areas around the main city. Others directly took out the teleportation crystal and teleported it back in pieces of white light. That's all. A war between the two worlds that lasted nearly 4 days and 3 nights. It's finally over here. And Lin Yu and the others, who received the prompt, quickly returned to the main city with Ji Xinghe, who was unconscious, and said goodbye on the teleportation square. Lin Yu, during this time I want to stay in the capital to take care of my father, so I can't act with you anymore. In front of the angel statue on the square, Ji Yunchuang looked haggard and looked at Lin Yu a little apologetically. It's okay, your father's injury is important. When he wakes up, remember to notify me. Lin Yu said softly. Okay, then we'll go first. Probably because of her low mood, Ji Yunshuang didn't say much. After saying goodbye, he and the team around him disappeared into the square with a swipe and teleported away. Looking at the empty ground in front of him, Lin Yu took a deep breath and planned to teleport back quickly to absorb the Godhead fragment he had just obtained. Brother Lin Yu, wait a minute. But at this moment, a familiar voice suddenly came from a distance. The third prince, Qin Li, who had been waiting there, rushed towards him with a team. Third prince? Do you have anything to do with me? Lin Yu looked at Qin Li suspiciously. It's nothing, I just wanted to come over and thank you. Qin Li came to Lin Yu, his face was like a spring breeze, and he seemed to be in a good mood. Thank me? Lin Yu was even more puzzled. Yeah, thanks to the important news you conveyed to me just now, I got such a good opportunity to perform in front of the royal father. Now he will definitely change my opinion a lot. That's it. Lin Yu suddenly realized, but now the great emperors are discussing how to deal with the people in the Yuansha world and the true spirit world. Shouldn't they care about it? No, you guessed it wrong. The Yuansha realm and the true spirit realm probably won't make a move this time. Can't make a move? Why? Lin Yu asked, strangely. He also thought that those great emperors would fight and shatter the earth, so he rushed back to take refuge in such a hurry. In the end, Qin Li told him that none of this would happen. Seeing his doubts, Qin Li smiled and said, the reason is very simple, the plans of the two realms are exposed, and there is no way to cause damage to the great emperor of our primitive realm in a short time. Think about the safety of their own realm. You mean, there are other realms staring at the real spirit realm? Lin Yu was alert, and immediately thought of the key. That's right, the surroundings of the true spirit realm are also adjacent to other continents. Once their great emperor is dragged by us, the great emperors of other realms will definitely take advantage of it, so they don't dare to act too rashly. It turned out to be so. Lin Yu finally understood. Unexpectedly, there is such a mutually restraining relationship between the major realms. It is no wonder that the Yuansha realm and the true spirit realm have been slow to deal with them. It seemed that it was not easy to break this balance, so he finally felt relieved. After chatting with Qin Li for a while, he hurriedly bid farewell and teleported back to the territory. If you're enjoying my content, please consider donating a coffee. Or checking out my shirts on TeePublic. Waste thing. In the Yuansha realm, in a splendid hall, a terrifying roar suddenly exploded. The great emperors of the Yuansha realm, as well as several great emperors who had just arrived from the true spirit realm, gathered together, and all looked gloomily at the two 10th Order kings below. Just because of a momentary negligence, they ruined their long-planned plan. How can you not make them angry? If it wasn't for the difficulty of training the 10th Order king, he would have been directly bombed and killed. The two 10th rank kings also knew that they had made a huge mistake, and they were so scared that they bowed their heads and shivered, completely losing the majesty of kings. Okay, don't be angry. Since it has already happened, there is nothing we can do. Besides, we are not fully prepared this time, and we may not be able to successfully kill a great emperor in the primitive world. In the end, in the true spirit world team, an old man with white hair and beard stood up and made a peace. The great emperor who had roared just now heard the words and snorted coldly, "Humph. For the sake of Emperor Zishuan's intercession for you, I will go around you this time, go back to the wall for me, and see how I clean up." You. Yes. Thank you the Great for your kindness. Thank you Emperor Zishuan. The two 10th Order kings were shocked and thanked them repeatedly. How dare you stay, leave the hall as if escaping, and disappear in a blink of an eye. It wasn't until a long time after they left that the old man sighed and said, "It seems that the luck is not on us this time. We thought we could take the opportunity to damage the vitality of the primordial realm, but I didn't expect it to be self-defeating. Who would have thought that there would be people from the primordial realm in our rear base camp?" Another great emperor said immediately. It's weird to say, I've asked before, that person from the primitive world seems to be only 7th Order, although those two wastes are not good, but they are also 10th Order, and there are many 8th and 9th orders on the side. The Lord, but still let him escape. I heard that he summoned a unit with peculiar abilities and blocked the power of rules within the range. A unit that can block the power of rules? Could it be? One of the great emperors suddenly thought of something, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. The same is true for the other great emperors. They were all surprised and inexplicable, as if they had thought of something that made them fearful. The old man was more calm, frowned and said, "I don't think so. After all, he's only at the 7th rank, so it should be just a coincidence." "That's true." Another great emperor nodded silently, "But since you dare to ruin our good deeds, we should investigate it. If there is a threat to us, just remove it directly." "Well, leave it to the people below to do it." The great emperors didn't care too much about Lin Yu. After all, it's just like what they said, it's just a 7th order, so they shouldn't be bothered. Otherwise, what do those men need to do? So soon, they stopped this topic and continued to discuss future cooperation plans. And this time, Lin Yu on the other side. He also passed the teleportation array and teleported back to his own territory. As soon as he stood still, he was immediately stunned by the noisy scene in the distance. I saw that in the forest outside Huangsha City, a large area of buildings and tree houses had been built at this time. On the road between the buildings, there are countless crowds surging in and out of Huangsha City and the forest. Indistinctly, you can still hear hawking and shouting, incessantly. A lively scene is built in the forest. Lin Yu quickly opened the territory interface and took a look. Good guy. It's only been 4 days. The population of Huangsha City directly rose to over 100,000. The power of faith has increased by 121 points than before. On average, it was around 30 o'clock every day, which was more than 3 times as high as when he left. Even the daily revenue of Huangsha City has risen to 30,000 yuan. After deducting a bunch of expenses, there are still about 15,000 yuan left. This is still exempt from the first month's tax. It seems that everyone is working hard. Lin Yu couldn't help sighing. 15,000 magic energy per day is enough for him to do a lot of things, and he no longer has to worry about the loss of troops. Thinking of the troops, he immediately turned off the interface and checked it in the territory. Fortunately, after patrolling around, most of the troops were basically there, only a few dozen proliferating troops were lost, and most of them were involved in the turbulent space and died, and a small part was lost during the battle with the original evil world. As for those flowers of death, because it is a summoned object, the energy has been exhausted over time, and it has all disappeared. After checking the units, Lin Yu went directly under the world tree and took out the Godhead fragment he had just obtained. Take a deep breath and choose to absorb it immediately. Fusion. It was exactly what Emperor Xingyao said. With the first Godhead shard as a medium, he can really absorb other shards. As soon as his voice fell, the fragments of the Godhead in his hand turned into a stream of light and melted into his eyebrows. In an instant, a vast sea-like energy poured into his body, circulating through his limbs, making his whole spirit clear like a mirror. Then, an upgraded attribute interface appeared in front of him. The upgraded Godhead shards directly changed from 1 piece to 2 pieces. According to the characteristics provided by the Godhead, his troop attributes, the upper limit of the number of troop types, the power of rules, and the speed of territorial core cohesion will all be directly increased by 20%. It is simply exaggerated to the extreme. Just imagine, if the 10th tier lord gets this piece of Godhead, his strength will be directly increased by 10%, and it is 10% of the 10th tier lord. This is absolutely unimaginable. Now Lin Yu finally understands why King Xingyao was so strong when he was still at the 11th level. A full 9 Godhead fragments, that is, 90% of the strength bonus, is almost double that of the ordinary 11th order, and it is strange that it is not strong. With a sigh, Lin Yu turned off the interface and recruited the Demon King and Qin Gang to his side. Although there were many accidents in this war between the two worlds, he still managed to collect 15 7th order territorial essences. In addition to the 6 rewards from the previous king, it is just enough to upgrade 2 8th tiers. And the best choice is naturally the 2 royal families, the Mushroom Demon King Qin Gang. However, before upgrading them, Lin Yu took some time to create 7 symbiotic moss with the strange change skill with the 3 million mana earned by killing the lord before. After letting them copy the attributes of the Mushroom Demon King and Qin Gang, they started to upgrade. A familiar reminder sounded in Lin Yu's mind. After such a long period of accumulation, his first batch of arms has already reached the full experience value, and there is no problem of insufficient experience continue. Without any hesitation, he answered directly. The next second, a white light lit up on Mushroom Demon King and Qin Gang, completely enclosing them. After a while, the 2 arms were advanced, and their appearance changed a lot. After the unit experience reaches the full value, there is no way to continue to accumulate it without upgrading. Therefore, the newly upgraded Mushroom King and Qin Gang both have 0 experience points. And these 2 arms have symbiotic moss that replicates their 7th order attributes, which greatly enhances their superior attributes. The power of the Mushroom Demon King's skills, the attack strength and defense of Qin Gang, have almost reached the level close to the 9th order. He added 2 more generals to Lin Yu. And after the advanced level, their skills have also changed a lot. The timed blasting of the Mushroom Demon King is a must for Yin people. Not to mention Qingting's 30-second Real Man, the extra movement speed made up for the problem of short legs of plants. With these 2 powerful helpers joining in, he can finally go to the Secret Realm Sanctuary with peace of mind. After all, there are dozens of military treasures missing in his arms base. If you encounter a lord who also has a troop base building, wouldn't it be a big loss to fight? Thinking of this, Lin Yu continued to use the remaining hundreds of thousands of magical energy under the World Tree to start building troops. At this time, the upper limit of the number of troops he had at this time was also increased to 300 due to the increase in the number of Godhead fragments. 50 more troops than other Tier 7 lords. Do you want to open the door to the secret realm? Without the slightest increase in emotion, it sounded in Lin Yu's mind. After making sufficient preparations, he finally came under the World Tree the next morning and opened the door to the secret realm. And this prompt sounded when he chose to turn on the function. Lin Yu glanced at the large number of troops in the territory, took a deep breath, and responded directly. Yes. In an instant. The light suddenly lit up and gathered from all directions to the trunk of the World Tree, gradually building a space vortex for one person to pass through. The space vortex is spinning rapidly, and there is a faint suction. It looks a bit like a copy portal in the game. At the same time, several prompts sounded immediately. Congratulations to the Lord, the door to the secret realm has been successfully opened. Through the gate of the secret realm, you can directly teleport to the secret realm sanctuary in the center of the continent. The sanctuary of the secret realm is a neutral zone with no rules for protection. Please always pay attention to safety. No rules to protect? Lin Yu was stunned for a moment. It seems that you have to be a little careful when going to this secret sanctuary. Although the people I encountered were basically people from the primitive continent, but for the sake of resources, those people could not care about the same race and different races. And it is also the center of the mainland, where there are outstanding people, and there are probably not a few high-level cultivators of the indigenous people. Thinking of this, Lin Yu took out the 8th order silk soft armor that Magna had repaired for him before, and put it on his body. After checking the things on his body again, he slowly walked into the whirlpool. Swish! The light flashed. A sense of weightlessness and dizziness struck, and it competed with ultra-long distance teleportation. But this feeling comes and goes quickly. When Lin Yu stood still again, he found himself on a huge platform full of people. 8th level E-level multiplayer secret realm, come to rely on teammates. Are there any brothers who will attack the D-level secret realm together? Come here with intention. It is best to have a healing unit. I have a 7th order element system, and there are 2 8th order arms, which can give all elemental attack boosts, so I'm looking for an E rank or higher secret realm team. Come and have a look. The Maple Leaf Squad recruits members and requires at least one rare type of unit. Freshly released weapons and other secret treasures. Come and take a look if you are interested. E-Class? Team recruiting? Multiplayer secret realm? Hearing the constant shouting from the side, Lin Yu was blindfolded. He always thought that the so-called secret sanctuary would be a place similar to a battlefield, with yellow sand everywhere and monsters everywhere. But I didn't expect to see such a lively scene. I saw that on the platform he was on, there were constant lords and cultivators coming and going, with all kinds of troops around him. Some people even set up stalls directly on the platform, where they were selling hard. This was not what surprised Lin Yu the most. What surprised him the most was the platform he is on now is actually floating in the sky. And not only the one under his feet, there are also several huge platforms floating on the side, connected by roads, to build a spectacular floating archipelago in the sky. Beneath the archipelago, a magnificent and splendid city of holy light sits on the ground. With the archipelago as the center, it extends in all directions, and extends to the end of the line of sight. People come and go on the street, which is extremely lively. Vaguely, Lin Yu could even see 3 giant swords standing on the top of the city in 3 directions, each with a height of over 1,000 meters. Even from a distance, you can feel the terrifying power emanating from the giant sword. This is the Secret Realm Sanctuary? Lin Yu was full of doubts. But before he could think about it, a reminder sounded in his mind. Area transition detected, switching in progress. Successful switch, current area, Secret Sanctuary. In view of the Lord's first arrival in the sanctuary of the Secret Realm, soul binding is in progress. As soon as the prompt sounded, an invisible energy shot out from between Lin Yu's eyebrows. It turned into a streamer in the air and merged into a statue in the center of the platform. Soul binding is successful. Activate the summoning function. As long as it is in the sanctuary of the Secret Realm, the Lord can directly contact the territory and freely summon troops. I see. It is the same as the soul statue on the side of the main city. After binding, the Lord can have the ability to remotely contact the territory. It seems that it should also be built by the great emperors. Lin Yu's expression suddenly became stunned. His eyes passed through the platform where people came and went, and looked at the center of the platform. I saw that on each floating platform, there were 10 huge statues, each with the image of the core of 10 territories. For example, the plant-based world tree, the demon-based blood cross, the human-shaped sword and shield. The energy he just had was channeled into the world tree statue. In the middle of the 10 statues, a space gate stands impressively, blocking a terrifying crack in the middle. Continually, a team of Lord practitioners passed through the gate of space and disappeared on the platform. If Lin Yu guessed right. That should be the space crack connecting the main plane of the monster. Unexpectedly, the great emperors used the floating islands to block them and made them into secret realm gates. That is to say, each floating island represents a space crack, which is really not a lot. The previous monster riots probably damaged a lot, right? I was thinking so. There was a sudden commotion under a stone monument wrapped in a light curtain in the distance. A group of people gathered around the stone tablet and exclaimed, "Fuck, that pervert's rating actually went up again. I remember he was only 687 yesterday, right? Why did it rise to 690 today? Could it be that he is going to attack the S-level secret realm? Hey! S-class? Is that something a human can do? The monsters in the S-rank secret realm are almost the same as the 8th rank. The lords talked a lot, and their words contained deep shock. Lin Yu walked into the crowd suspiciously, not knowing what they were talking about. But immediately, his eyes were attracted by the information displayed on the stone tablet. Mystery Personal Score List, 7th Order. First place, Jiang Xingyan, Insect Department, A level 690. Second place, Sun Daoting, Undead, Class A 685. Third place, Zhou Qi, Devil Department, A level 684. Fourth place, Chung Fongfeng, Humanoid, Class A 683. Note, the level of the secret realm is divided into 9 difficulties: F, E, D, C, B, A, S, SS, and SSS. Each difficulty has different points and monster attribute bonuses. Only the highest points are recorded. What is this? Lin Yu was full of question marks. He really looks like Grandma Lu entering the Grandview Garden and doesn't know anything. In desperation, he had to listen carefully to the discussions around him and collect useful information from it. Not to mention, his method is very useful. After only staying for a while, he already understood about it. Turn out to be. The secret realm here is not as simple as he imagined, but is divided according to the level of difficulty. The secret realm of each level will have different bonuses to the attributes of monsters because of how much it is affected by the atmosphere of chaos. Even in the lowest F-level secret realm, the attributes of monsters in it will increase by at least 20%, which is almost equivalent to the level of chaotic monsters. And every time the difficulty of the secret realm increases, the attribute of the monster will increase by another 10%. The SSS level secret realm is just increased by 100%, which is outrageous. But at the same time, clearing the difficult secret realm will also increase the rewards obtained. Just like clearing SSS level secret realms, the rewards obtained will also be SSS level. It is even possible to get SSS level military treasures. This made Lin Yu excited to know. The secret treasure of the arms he has now is only E rank. I can't imagine how strong the most advanced weapons will be. No wonder he didn't see many lords above the 7th rank in the frontier battlefield and the principality. I'm afraid they all came here. However, it is not easy to clear the secret realm above S rank. You can see it from the leaderboard. The highest level of the 7th order list is only that the A level is close to the S level. Although Lin Yu is confident, he doesn't think that these guys on the list are weaker than him. Even they can't clear the S-level secret realm, the difficulty can be imagined. How about, let's try it first? Lin Yu thought silently. After listening to the discussions of others around him for a while, he left the crowd and came to the gate of the secret realm with the lords, and by the way summoned Lingxi to his side. Brother, are you going to clear the secret realm? Would you like to join us? We just happen to be short of a healer. Brother, are you coming to our team? We're just one person away. Friend, are you interested in being together? When the lords on the side saw Lingxi beside Lin Yu, they threw olive branches to him. This Lin Yu has also heard others mention it just now. It is said that the secret realm can be entered by multiple lords together, but the reward is still only one. Lin Yu took a look. Around these 7th order lords, there are more or less 2 or more 8th orders. Although the strength is not weak, Yu reading www.yuyukansha.com does not help him much. And if you go to the secret realm together, you will face the problem of the distribution of the final treasure. So after thinking about it, let it go, directly declined the invitation of those lords, and walked into the gate of the secret realm alone. Immediately after. Sure enough, as the lords discussed just now, a difficulty option interface appeared in front of him. After thinking about it for a while, he directly chose the secret realm of the 7th order A-level difficulty. The difficulty selection is successful, and the secret realm allocation is in progress. Swish! The light lit up, and Lin Yu disappeared in place. When he stood still again, he appeared on a blackened earth. At the same time, several prompts sounded one after another. Secret realm transmission is successful. Current secret realm, Devil's Valley, Tier 7A grade. Attention, due to being infected by the chaotic breath, the attributes of all monsters are increased by 70%. Please be careful. Good guy. It's the same as those lords said, the higher the difficulty, the more abnormal the attributes. A full 70% of the attributes are almost doubled. Even if his Lingxi, Willow, and Godhead fragments add up, it only increases all the attributes of the troops by 46%. In addition to other recovery halo buffs, there is also a negative halo that reduces the enemy's attributes by 5% and Qingting Spirit by 10%. Barely, it has increased by 50%, but it is not as perverted as the secret realm of A-level difficulty. Roar. Just as he was thinking, a loud roar suddenly came from a distance. A group of tall two-headed hellhounds suddenly appeared, surging towards him from the depths of the scorched earth. The number is so huge that there are thousands of them, causing the entire earth to vibrate violently. Name: Hell Double-Headed Dog. Race: Demon. Level: Level 7. Strength: 800 plus 560. Physique: 740 plus 518. Agility: 835 plus 585. Spirit: 750 plus 525. Skills: Rush, Bite, Hell Lava. Chaos: all attributes increased by 70%. Introduction: a creature that lives in hell, with strong aggressiveness and strong mobility. Up to 1,300 average attributes. It was definitely the most ferocious 7th Order monster Lyn you had ever seen. Even if his plants are blessed by various auras, they are only around 1,200. This is also because the basic attributes of his units are higher than those of monsters. He didn't dare to hesitate, and immediately summoned several royal troops and more than 800 proliferating plants. In an instant, the light flashed, and a large plant appeared beside him. At the forefront is the legion of ancient war trees and ancient natural trees led by Qing Gang. The tall figures are lined up in sequence in front of the team, forming a solid shield. After that, it was the Mushroom Explosion Corps led by the Mushroom Demon King, and the Flower Demon Healing Corps led by Lingxi. After that, there was the Banshee Vine Legion headed by Qingting, and the dense vines continued to swim, like small snakes, spreading out in all directions. In the sky, there are also 5 giant plant dragons soaring back and forth, blowing gusts of wind wherever they go. Coupled with the 2 devouring flowers and several other special arms mixed in the army team, Lin Yu's current plant army is formed. Even in the face of such an exaggerated army of monsters, he is not afraid at all. Attack! Lin Yu sat next to Qingting's body and shouted at the plants below. The ancient war tree troops received the order, and they all roared towards the 2-headed hellhounds that were rushing towards them, and collided with them fiercely. In an instant, the Cerberus rushing in front was blocked, opening their mouths one by one and spewing out a large piece of lava. Sizzle. Intense corrosiveness crazily corrodes the body of the ancient war tree. Lingxi, group therapy. Lin Yu did not panic, and gave instructions to Lingxi in the distance. In the next second, the elves around Lingxi waved their staffs, and a strong force of nature erupted, constantly healing the wounds of the ancient war tree. Coupled with the healing effect of the willow halo, it easily blocked the first wave of the Cerberus army. Immediately afterwards, the ancient war trees roared and started the war, trampling one after another, stomping wildly in the Cerberus army, trampling all the surrounding Cerberus, jumping up and down. The natural ancient trees on the side also summoned a large number of tree demons to join the battle. Boom boom dash. At this time, violent explosions sounded one after another. The explosive mushroom army at the rear finally shot. All kinds of mushrooms turned into parabolas and fell behind the Cerberus, blasting all the Cerberus that rushed up. Others were drowsy, confused, blinded, and many other messy poisonous mushrooms, and their formations were disrupted in one fell swoop. Roar. The remaining Cerberus army roared again and again, frantically charging against the iron walls of the ancient war tree. Under the blessing of powerful attributes, several ancient war trees were immediately slaughtered, directly tearing a gap in the defense line. Quick! Plug that gap! Seeing that a large number of Cerberus crossed the legion of ancient trees and rushed into the rear, Lin Yu immediately gave orders to Qingting and Banshee Vine beside him. For a time, countless vines frantically emerged, forming a semicircular vine wall on the gap, blocking their way, and then spraying a large amount of poisonous mist to weaken their strength. At the same time, giant vines rushed out from underneath, instantly penetrating a large area of Cerberus' body. Kill the 7th Order monster and get 500 magic energy. Kill the 7th Order monster and get 499 points of magic energy. Kill the 7th order monster and get 504 magic energy. The prompt sound kept ringing in Lin Yu's mind, and in a blink of an eye, he gained tens of thousands of magical energy. But he didn't care about that. The power of the Cerberus was far beyond his imagination, which made him gradually become serious and continued to issue various orders to the plants. After a while, the ancient war tree blocked the gap again, killing all the hellhounds that rushed to the rear. And those dead corpses also began to gradually regenerate into undead flowers under the influence of the undead domain, filling the vacancy of death, and gradually suppressing the Cerberus army back. Roar. Wow. Seeing that the Cerberus was compressed into a ball, the Demon King Dragon and Demon Concubine Dragon in the sky seized the opportunity, uttered a high-pitched dragon roar, and activated the Swift Shadow skill to hover rapidly over the monster group. In an instant, a gust of wind suddenly swept up the hellhounds into the sky and slammed them down. The blade grass spread rapidly, spreading out the grass where they fell, turning into sharp blades. Puff. The blood flower exploded. More than half of the hellhounds were penetrated, but they still struggled to get up, roaring at the plants again, tearing the flowers of death into pieces. Fuck. It's really tough. Lin Yu couldn't help but let out a foul language. The Cerberus with a 70% attribute bonus is not the one that is easy to kill. Except for a few royal troops and those troops that have symbiotic moss, it is basically difficult to kill them with one hit. But the problem is that he only has 15 symbiotic mosses now, which is still a drop in the bucket compared to thousands of teams. If you kill one, another will immediately rush towards him, and he will also be able to evade the vines of the ivy nimbly, just like a little strong. He now finally understands why those lords are stuck at A rank. This difficulty alone, I am afraid that few lords can withstand it. What's more, this is only the first wave of monsters at the entrance of the secret realm. How dare you hesitate? Directly let Qin Gang launch a savage roar. I just heard Qin Gang Yang Yang let out a roar, and a large red light enveloped all the plants. The attribute suddenly increased by 30%, and finally surpassed the Cerberus. At this moment, the ivy and the blood banshee, who had sucked enough blood, also began to show their power, frantically dancing the vines on their bodies. Wherever they went, the hellhounds were all one by one, dragged out of the team to drain their blood. Or it was directly penetrated by the vines of the ivy and died on the spot. Gradually, the Cerberus army was surrounded by the plant army, and was killed one by one in an angry roar, and more undead flowers were resurrected. With this addition and subtraction, the advantage began to pour into Lin Yu's side. Finally, after losing more than 50 proliferating arms, he successfully killed all the hellhounds, making the whole scene instantly empty. Call. It's finally resolved. Lin Yu breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he had the foresight to let the proliferating troops top the front, so this loss was not too big for him, and he only needed to rest for a while to recover to be able to proliferate again. Thanks to this group of hellhounds, he provided him with 500,000 mana and nearly 500 undead flowers. It made his team bigger and more confident about the next battle. After resting in place for a while, after completing the value-added arms, he continued to move forward, taking the army of plants to the inside of the secret realm. As the name suggests, this secret realm is where demons live. Wherever the gaze went, the ground was all burnt to scorched earth, and there was a large swath of lava flowing in the distance. A blood moon hangs high in the sky, dyeing the entire secret realm with a layer of blood red, which looks extremely depressing. It went on like this for 10 minutes. Lin Yu finally brought the army of plants to the vicinity of a valley surrounded by volcanoes, and at a glance, he saw many strange figures coming and going around the valley. Name: Longhorned Flame Demon. Race: Demon. Level: Level 7. Strength: 711, plus 500. Physique: 740, plus 518. Agility: 800, plus 560. Spirit: 875, plus 613. Skills: Fireball, Fire Earth, Pillar of Fire. Chaos: all attributes increased by 70%. Introduction: a creature that lives in hell. It is very aggressive, it is good at controlling the fire of hell, and the flame is very corrosive. It was a little devil with horns on its head. The skin is dark red all over. I don't know if it is natural or because of living in a volcanic area. Wherever he walked, there was still a flame left, burning the ground continuously. Lin Yu frowned. The flame-type monster, and it is also a corrosive flame, the restraint of his plants is not ordinary. Unless the attributes are crushed, I am afraid it will be another fierce battle. This A-level secret realm is really not something that can be passed by just thinking about it. You have to figure out a way. Lin Yu's eyes gradually narrowed. If he just rushes over like this, although he is sure to win, the loss is too great, not what he wants. We have to find a way to restrain the flames of these monsters. Right. You can use that. Suddenly, Lin Yu thought something, his eyes lit up instantly and then, with a thought, he summoned the 16 lantern grasses in the territory to his side. That's right. It was the lantern grass that he left in the territory and used it as a light bulb. Coupled with the proliferation of sharp blade grass all over the surrounding ground, let them all spread out and follow the ancient war tree. After everything was ready, Lin Yu waved his hand directly. Okay, attack. With an order, the mighty army of plants approached the Devil's Valley under the path of the ancient war tree and the undead flower. When those flaming demons found them, they rushed over with howling one by one, and there were all kinds of strange sounds in their mouths, which seemed to be the language between demons. At the moment when the sound sounded, all the flaming demons burst into a blazing fire, and they slammed forward, turning into a sky-filled fireball and whistling towards the army of plants. That spectacular scene actually directly illuminated the outside of the entire valley, and even the temperature suddenly rose a bit. Vacuum! Lin Yu shouted towards the front. The sharp blade grass and the lantern grass, which had been waiting for a long time, immediately activated the vacuum skills, creating a vacuum area around the body, blocking the war between the ancient tree army and the demon army. The originally powerful flame attack, after passing through the vacuum zone, actually weakened rapidly, and even the speed became a lot slower. Although it is not enough to cancel all these attacks, it has greatly weakened their power and was easily blocked by the ancient tree of war. Sure enough. Lin Yu was surprised. Unexpectedly, the vacuum skill of lantern grass also has a miraculous effect. How dare you waste this opportunity and give a direct order to launch a full-scale attack on the flaming demons outside the valley? Boom! A muffled sound. The last flame demon fell. It took half an hour for Lin Yu Kai to finally clear all the monsters outside the valley, and the efficiency was much slower than when facing Cerberus. And because of the weak fire of plants, he lost a lot of troops. After a brief cleaning of the battlefield, Lin Yu came to the army of plants and began to count the remaining units. There are 5 royal arms, all of which have reached the 8th rank except the forest sage. Proliferation of troops. Banshee Vine 50, Ancient Tree 47, Exploding Mushroom 44, Fairy 36, Symbiotic Moss 15, Piranha 11, Cactus 6, Pea Shooter 5, Lantern Grass 2, Blade Grass 1, Sunflower 1, Dandelion 1. According to the size of these arms, the energy consumption is different, and the number of divisions is also different. But most of them are still divided into 4. That is to say, on the basis of this number, it will be at least 4 times. As for the remaining units, without proliferation skills, there are Plant Dragon 5, Blade Shadow Lion 3, Thorn Shield Turtle 3, Deceitful Willow 1. This is all his current combat strength, almost 240, in addition to the 44 leaf clover units and 10 planting units remaining in the territory, there are 286 units in total. The 14 less are the proliferation bodies that were lost during the battle just now. It's barely acceptable. Anyway, when he came down this trip, he also harvested nearly 1 million magic energy, and he will recruit again after he goes back. And after clearing the flame demons outside the valley, his undead flowers also increased to more than 700. It's perfect for a forward who opens the way. After thinking about it, Lin Yu withdrew his gaze and looked at the black-red figure standing densely on the volcanic rock in the valley surrounded by volcanoes. Name, Lava Golem. Race, Demon. Level, Level 7. Strength, 800, plus 560. Physique, 772, plus 540. Agility, 945, plus 662. Spirit, 900, plus 630. Skills, Petrification, Sound Discrimination, Lava Fire Rain. Chaos, all attributes increased by 70%. Introduction, a creature that lives in and has the ability to fly. When it is in a state of dormancy and petrification, its defense and recovery capabilities will be greatly improved. That's right. It is the gargoyle monster he is familiar with. And it is not an ordinary gargoyle, but a flame-type gargoyle made of lava. Lin Yu felt the deep malice from the secret realm. As if this secret realm knew that he was a plant type, the monsters that appeared were all flame type. The previous flame demons were fine, at least they could block them with vacuum skills. But this gargoyle was different. Up to 1600 agility, and can fly, the speed is not ordinary fast. In addition to the 8th tier troops, it is estimated that only the fairy and the elves can barely catch up. I'm afraid it will be another battle. But he had to bite the bullet, after all, he could only get the reward after the clearing. What will the A-level reward be? Lin Yu is looking forward to it. Let's try it first and see if it can lead to killing one by one. In the murmur, he began to observe the environment around the valley. Sadly, the entire valley is covered in volcanoes on all sides except for the valley entrance. Not to mention the use of terrain, even if you want to rush in from other places, there is no way. In desperation, Lin Yu had to let a few undead flowers enter the valley and go to explore the way first. Crack! Unexpectedly, as soon as the flower of death entered the valley, there was a sudden sound from the gargoyles who were standing still. Then the sound became one, and all the gargoyles in the entire valley actually woke up. Dry. Lin Yu let out a foul language, and his face turned green. Immediately bring all the plants to your side and take a fighting stance. Whoa dash. Only the sound of falling rocks was heard. After those gargoyles woke up, they flew high into the sky, and they were so densely connected that they covered the sky and the sun. And without the slightest pause, it roared towards the outside of the valley. Quick! Block them! Lin Yu didn't hesitate and gave the order directly. The vines wandering around suddenly burst into flames, forming a large net of vines in front of them. The remaining vines passed through the big net and swept straight towards the gargoyles that were approaching fast. The vines are fast. But gargoyles are faster. As if he had expected the vine's trajectory, he just dodged slightly, avoiding the vine's attack, and came to the top of the plant army in a blink of an eye. Then one by one, the hands condensed the lava and threw it down sharply. Bang 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 dash. The flames sputtered wildly, directly blasting the vine net. There were even a lot of lava that turned into meteor showers, smashing down towards the plants below, killing a large swathe of undead flowers in one fell swoop. Fortunately, plants are not slow to respond. Especially the flame shooter and the ice shooter. Their P-bullets are extremely fast, and after a burst of shots, many gargoyles were hit immediately. Either blown through the wings by the flame attribute, or frozen into ice cubes by the ice attribute, losing the ability to fly, and falling from the sky one by one. In a blink of an eye, it was overwhelmed by the swarming plants and killed on the spot. Go back to Qingting. Seeing more and more gargoyles surround them, Lin Yu immediately let all the plants hide in the ivy vine forest, relying on the ivy vines to block the dense attack. At the same time, the exploding mushrooms also climbed up the vines under the leadership of the Mushroom Demon King, and threw a large piece of red, yellow, blue and green mushrooms into the sky. And the thorn ball of the prickly pear was also thrown into the air. For a while, explosions sounded one after another. Then it was like rain, and the attacked gargoyles fell into the forest one after another, and were instantly submerged by the plants. Especially those gargoyles that were within the range of the Mushroom King's mushroom explosion were directly killed on the spot, leaving no body behind. Not to be outdone, the charming banshees launched their charm skills one after another to control the gargoyles that passed overhead, causing them to collide with their companions, triggering a series of air disasters. Really? To deal with this kind of fast troops, you still have to rely on range attacks and special means. In contrast, the Ancient Tree Legion and other melee units, which are good at land combat, are much weaker. They can only play soy sauce in the vine forest, or help kill the fallen gargoyles. As for Lingxi, it is leading the goblin team to continuously treat the plants, and the power of nature erupts from time to time, and countless wood thorns and leaves turn into sharp arrows and shoot out into the sky. As long as they were hit, they all died on the spot, and there was no room for struggle. But even so, the number of gargoyles is still huge, and there is no sign of any decrease. Even if the ivy attribute is strong and there are many vines, it is still a bit too much to handle. There are constantly gargoyles dodging its attacks, swooping down into the forest, grabbing a plant and flying high into the sky. Without giving other plants a chance to rescue, he was immediately torn apart by a large group of gargoyles. In less than 2 minutes, Lin Yu lost 50 or 60 troops. That's not even the undead flower that was lost. It's really difficult. Lin Yu couldn't help but curse. Although the attributes of these gargoyles are not too perverted, they are very cunning. As soon as he found something wrong, he flew away immediately, used the petrification skill to quickly recover from the injury, and then rejoined the battle. The entire sky was dark, and it was impossible to kill at all. In this way, they fought fiercely for a few minutes, and it was time to see that the losses were about to break through 100. The gargoyle's lava energy was restored again, condensed into clumps of lava flames in its hands, and flew above their heads. With that huge amount and the suppression of attributes, if you eat all of them, I am afraid that even Qingting will be seriously injured, let alone block them all. But it was this change that finally made Lin Yu think of a way to get rid of these difficult guys at one time. Because he found out. In order to strike them precisely, those gargoyles gathered above their heads. This is definitely a great opportunity to catch everything in one go. How dare you think about it? Directly recall all the plants to the side, and at the same time let the green vines gather the vines as much as possible to reduce the scope to a certain extent. It was not what he expected. When the gargoyles saw them gather the team, they surrounded them one after another, and the lava flames in their hands became more and more hot. In the end, the lava was suddenly thrown out by them, and it fell from the sky as a rain of fire. With that terrifying power, Lin Yu even had reason to believe that they could smash the ivy into serious injuries, and just when the attack was about to fall on Qingting, the forest sage in the vine forest finally moved. An invisible ripple erupted with it as the center www.novel.com completely blocked the surrounding rules. In an instant, all attacks dissipated and turned into nothingness. Even the flames that were condensing in the hands of the gargoyle were instantly extinguished. This sudden change suddenly made the gargoyle panic, and he wanted to turn around and fly away immediately. However, how could Lin Yu give them another chance? Only after hearing a roar from Qinggang, a red light appeared on all the plants. Then the vines of the ivy suddenly rushed out, building a huge cage around the entire gargoyle group, blocking their retreat. Those gargoyles rammed their heads, and just wanted to fly into the sky to escape, but suddenly there were several high-pitched dragon roars from the sky. The Demon King Dragon and Demon Concubine Dragon, who had been waiting for a long time, directly activated their combined skills, blowing a terrifying gale in the sky, covering all the gargoyles. Immediately afterwards, the mushroom army headed by the Mushroom Demon King began to throw explosive mushrooms into the sky, and they were also blown into the gust of wind. Boom! A deafening explosion shook the entire sky. Kill the 7th Order monster and gain 494 magic energy. Kill the 7th Order monster and gain 505 magic energy. Kill the 7th Order monster and gain 497 magic energy. Dense reminders sounded in Lin Yu's mind. In just a moment, he obtained nearly 1 million magical energy, and almost killed more than 90% of the gargoyles. But what Lin Yu didn't expect was that the imaginary customs clearance prompt did not sound. On the contrary, those gargoyle corpses that were killed suddenly turned into energy, and quickly gathered towards the valley, and the entire secret realm began to vibrate violently. Is there still a leader monster? Seeing this sudden change, Lin Yu was shocked. He had only seen this scene when he was clearing the gathering place of monsters. Because in a large monster gathering place, there will be a leader monster that is one level higher than the nest level. Could it be that this so-called secret realm is actually a gathering place for monsters above the 7th rank? As if to respond to Lin Yu's guess. As soon as his idea appeared, the energy of those gargoyles converged and gradually turned into a demon stone statue more than 20 meters high. Name, Lava Horror, Leader. Race, Demon. Level 8. Strength, 2,500 plus 1,750. Physique, 1,800 plus 1,260. Agility, 1,800 plus 1,260. Spirit, 2,400 plus 1,680. Skills, Lava Impact, Terrorist Coercion, Demon Fire. Chaos, all attributes increased by 70%. Introduction, a creature that lives in and has the ability to fly. When it is in a state of dormancy and petrification, its defense and recovery capabilities will be greatly improved. Really? As Lin Yu guessed. What appeared was a boss-level monster, and its attributes were abnormal to the extreme. Up to 4,000 or more strength and spirit. It is simply not something that ordinary 7th Order lords can deal with. Those lords who can annihilate the A-level secret realm are indeed not to be underestimated. If it weren't for the 20% full attribute of the Godhead Shard bonus, I am afraid it is not very easy to deal with, and it may even suffer heavy losses. But now. Lin Yu smiled confidently. If the huge group of monsters just now made him a little troublesome, then this single individual made him feel easier to deal with. After all, under the blessing of various halos, the highest attributes of his 4 royal arms have already reached more than 5,000, and the mere 8th Order leader monster is no different from delivering food. Go, it's time for you to act. Without thinking too much, Lin Yu said directly to the 4 royal families around him. Lingxi Mushroom Demon King and Qing Gang, who had been eager to try for a long time, left the team directly and rushed into the valley. Qingting followed closely, with a mighty army of plants pouring into it. Roar! Seeing them approaching, the Lava Horror let out a thunderous roar, and when he opened his mouth, a pillar of flame spewed out, attacking straight towards the entrance. The terrifying power even caused the air in the entire valley to vibrate violently. However, immediately, the thick-skinned Qing Gang rushed to the front, with his arms crossed in front of him, and at the same time he activated the hardening skill. Boom! A violent explosion shook the valley. Qing Gang was knocked back several meters by the Yanzhu, and a huge gap was punched in his arm, but it was able to block this powerful blow. At the same time, the spiritual staff waved, and the force of nature erupted. The thorns all over the sky condensed, and swishly shot towards the lava terror from all directions, tying it into a honeycomb. The Mushroom Monster King's mushrooms also followed closely, drawing a parabola in the air and falling to the feet of the lava terror, causing a series of violent explosions. The lava terror roared again and again, and a raging flame suddenly burned on his body, directly burning the wooden thorns into fly ashes. Then it flew high into the sky, and the black, demonic fire condensed out of thin air and fell suddenly towards the bottom. Boom! The whole ground shook violently and instantly turned into a sea of black fire. Not to mention, this skill is quite a threat to Lin Yu's troops. Under the fear, the Lingxi Green Gang Mushroom Demon King immediately retreated to the outside of the valley. And the green vines that followed also threw the vines wildly, and rushed into the sky one by one. When the Lava Horror finished casting its skills, it wrapped around its body and pulled it down. Hearing a loud bang, the huge body of the lava horror fell heavily to the ground, splashing a large amount of smoke and dust, and even the entire ground sagged. Good chance, get rid of it quickly. How could Lin Yu miss this opportunity to beat the drowning dogs, and immediately let Ling Si and the others swarm them, and each skill fell on the lava terror without money. The lava terror roared angrily, breaking off one vine after another, and even raging flames on his body, but he couldn't break free, and instead was entangled by more and more vines. Under the play of the four royal armies who exchanged injuries for injuries, the aura on his body became weaker and weaker, and the struggle became weaker and weaker. In the end, with an unwilling roar, he fell under the combined attack of the royal family. Kill the 8th Order monster and get 1000 magic energy. Congratulations, you successfully destroyed the 7th Order A-level secret realm and obtained the 7th Order territory essence X1. A pleasant reminder sounded in Lin Yu's mind. Lin Yu was stunned for a moment, then immediately became excited. The essence of the 7th Order territory. After clearing the secret realm, he actually obtained the essence of the territory. It's really like a gathering place for monsters. Although there was only one, it was something he never expected, and he was extremely excited. Because of this, he has another channel to obtain the essence of the territory, and finally he can upgrade more Tier 8 arms. But it didn't take long for him to get excited. A few more prompts followed. The secret realm has been successfully cleared, and the difficulty is being assessed. Assessment completed, difficulty score, 667. Congratulations, you have successfully entered the secret realm personal rating list, 7th Order, current ranking, 103. Difficulty ratings are a bit higher than expected. But it only barely made it to the top 100. At the moment when this series of reminders fell, the body of the lava terror quickly dissipated, and gradually condensed into two radiant things that floated on the ground. Secret rewards. Lin Yu's spirit was shocked, and he immediately abandoned the messy thoughts and brought the plants to those two things. He saw a spherical ball and a crystal in a bursting form under the wrapping of golden streamer light. This ball, Lin Yu recognized, was a ball specially used to gain experience. Pick it up and see that it is. Experience Ball, Tier 7. It can increase 100 points of experience for the specified troops of Tier 7 and below, and it must be obtained every time the secret realm is destroyed. The experience ball he had seen before could only add experience to Tier 6. This is directly upgraded to the 7th Order, which is not bad. Although he has a forest sage and an ancient tree of knowledge, there is no need to worry about the experience of the arms. But other lords don't, so there's no need to worry about shooting. And this is something that must be obtained after destroying the secret realm. Is this the legendary minimum guarantee? Lin Yu couldn't help laughing. I really don't know whether to talk about humanization, or to talk about the black-faced nemesis. It seems that this secret realm is still a good place for troops to level up, and it will reward this kind of thing. After putting away the experience ball, Lin Yu looked at the remaining strange crystal again. It looked like a bomb that was frozen just before it exploded, with a spark of sparks on the edge. Pick it up carefully. An information interface also appeared in front of him. Army Treasure, The Last Strike. Treasure Type, Passive Skill. Treasure Level, a level. Treasure Effect, make the summons of this class get the skill Final Strike. When they die, there is a 25% chance to cause self-destruction, causing huge damage to surrounding enemies. Introduction, the secret treasure used to strengthen the arms can be used in the base of the arms, and only a single type of arms can be strengthened. Troop Secret Treasure. And it's also an A-level weapon secret. Lin Yu was startled, he didn't expect that he was so lucky, and for the first time, something came out of his heart. And it is also a secret treasure about summons. Could it be that this secret realm still has a first pass reward? Or is he suddenly possessed by the European Emperor? Final hit. The name just doesn't sound easy. And the effect is quite impressive. It can cause the summoned object of the specified unit to explode and cause huge damage when it dies. This is simply a good baby born for the lords of the undead and insect types. After all, everyone knows that the summoning abilities of these two divisions are definitely one of the best. Even his undead domain skills were stolen from the Ninth Order Undead Lord, and he had to say that he was really lucky. If this thing is taken out to set up a street stall, I am afraid that it will attract a lot of undead insect lords to fight frantically, right? It's a good thing, it can be used to strengthen the Parada army. Lin Yu happily held the secret treasure in his hand and observed it for a while, before putting it in his personal space. After taking a look around and nothing was missing, I recalled the plants to the territory, and then rode the Demon King Dragon and drove back in the direction of the entrance to the secret realm. After there was no monster to block him, his travel speed was much faster. In less than 20 minutes, he had already returned to the entrance of the secret realm and teleported away directly. Swish! The light comes on. Lin Yu appeared on the suspended island platform again. Look at the sky again, it's already noon, and it's still a long time before it gets dark. However, he lost a lot of ordinary arms this time, did not continue to enter the secret realm, but went to the previous ranking stone tablet to take a look. As predicted, his name has appeared on the 7th Order rating list. However, because it is at the bottom, not many people pay attention. What surprised him was that in such a short period of time, the rankings had undergone new changes. Mystery Personal Score List, 7th Order. First place, Wen Yanming, Mechanical Department, SS Grade 814. Second place, Jiang Xingyan, Insect Department, S-Class 720. Third place, Xin Yuan, Plant Department, S-Class 711. Fourth place, Sun Daoting, Undead, S-Level 707. This ranking change is not a big deal. It seems that these lords have all exerted their strength, and there are several guys who have cleared the S-level secret realm at once. The first place is a direct SS difficulty, the score is far ahead of other lords, and it is still a mechanical system that does not show mountains and waters. The competition is not so fierce. You must know that in the secret realm of SS level difficulty, the monster attribute is directly increased by 90%. It's enough to see how amazing this mechanical system is. I am afraid that in the 7th Order, they also belong to the top group. Looks like we'll have to work harder. Lin Yu murmured silently in his heart. Although this list is only used to give the lords an intuitive feel for the difficulty of the secret realm, there is no reward, but it also gave Lin Yu a sense of urgency. There are many talents on the mainland, and if you are not careful, you may be thrown away. This is only a part of what has been revealed. I don't know how many talented people are still hidden on the mainland. He also needs to improve his strength as soon as possible. Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.